Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maciek. Welcome to Inside the London Study Abroad Session podcast. Today we've got with us is Sam Hall, founder of Mixed Reality Rooms, a company at the forefront of creating collaborative mixed reality spaces that blend the digital and physical world. As an employer, Sam brings a unique perspective, what skills and mindset graduate needs to thrive. So welcome to our podcast, Sam.
Thanks very much for having me, Maciek. I'm not sure how I'm going to live up to that intro, but I'll do my best.
This is going to be very much structured around what your experience is as a employer. So I would like your perspective on things like bridging theory and practice. So our first question is, you work with immersive tech, and the gap between the classroom and learning and workplace can be huge.
Mm-hmm.
So the question to you is, from your own perspective, are today's graduates ready to apply to what they learned or not?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, there's only so far any form of university or college can take you with regards to kind of career readiness. And that's not really any detriment to any colleges or universities. And I think what they do is they serve a really good purpose for teaching like some solid frameworks. For example, let's take a simple like SWOT analysis. If you're like analyzing the competition, like that's still useful in kind of like the corporate world. In terms of what I think grads potentially are missing, again, no faults there, is more around the context, right? And kind of like that muscle memory of needing to make trade-offs and ruthlessly like prioritizing what needs to be done and why. And yeah, I think that the phrase like good enough and shit is always going to be perfect and late in the real world because speed is everything.
Great. Thank you very much. So you're an employer, you hire people. How do you stand out as a graduate in the current market? Because things have changed the last few years, of course, with the growth of tech. So when you hire, what makes a candidate, especially an international candidate, because London is a very international city, what do they need to stand out in a field, in a very fast moving, competitive, and in your case, immersive technology? What your take on it?
Yeah, so I actually don't think I think the tools have changed, but actually I still think the fundamental principles are the same and have always been the same. And it was quite funny because I was thinking about this with regards to when we started like 5 years ago, and Charlie and I were talking about what do we look for in kind of, what would we look for if we want to work with someone? And it feels so outdated to say this now, but just someone that if they have a question, do they Google it first, or like are they proactive in Googling the answer? Obviously, you've got ChatGPT now and all these like other resources and tools that can help you find the answer before coming to help. And it's not about us not wanting to provide help, but it's like being proactive enough and curious enough to try and figure it out on your own. Because if you've got kind of like that mindset, that's going to like alleviate a lot of the burden, which, some graduates and interns and employees in general can be, and that's fine. Like we all have to be burdened sometimes. And then the second kind of aspect, and you mentioned like from an international lens, and I can give like an example of this, is we hired a guy called Maxime once after doing an Inside London talk. He came up, so he was very proactive in that sense. He came up to me after the talk, asked if we had any jobs and how he could get involved, and he showed like a real interest in what we were doing. He then sent me a LinkedIn message for which I guess I ignored. And I don't think out of spite in any regard, of course. It's just I think I was busy. And then he followed up again. So it's kind of like he was very tenacious. And then when we started working with him, one benefit that I really, really liked was he brought these learnings and his experiences of how he's worked with companies in Belgium, for example. And he was like, oh, this is how it works in Belgium. Maybe this could work for us over here in the UK. And whether that was right or wrong, I find that really, for me, it's kind of like, it's energizing to hear and bring new ideas. So that international background really works. And obviously the world's a lot more connected now and global, but even if like you read Shoe Dog, which is the book by the Nike founder, Phil Knight, like his journey of back in the day when he, went to Japan, went traveling, he got all these ideas of how to create shoes and find shoes. Like a lot of good business ideas are spawned from kind of like global areas. So if grads, for example, have an international background and they can, observe. And I think that is another thing. Sorry, I might be waffling a bit here now, but like one thing is if you've got international experience, often you're molding yourself to different environments. So often what that
Hmm.
involves is a lot of listening and absorbing before kind of like chiming in with this is how it needs to be done. And I think that's the ultimate skill grads with international experience could bring.
That's great. Thank you. So it brings me on a sort of another question because, of course, this particular chap, he had a mindset, right? He had a mindset that he was very persistent, it seems like. And of course, this was his personal trait that attracted him. You basically found it useful in his international experience. Now, so what real skills or mindsets do you wish then the universities emphasized more so graduates could be more prepared, in the roles, especially innovation-driven industries like yours?
Hmm. Yeah, I honestly don't really know how you teach it, to be honest. And I really hate that because, I almost want everyone to, like, yeah, I don't like the feeling like the world's unfair or like, these
Mm,
people are like this or that. But like, I feel like to some degree, I don't know how you teach curiosity, like whether you make or like teach someone to kind of relentlessly follow up. I know 100% it's a muscle that you can train and you train it by doing these things. No one likes doing cold calls. Or, for example, I used to knock on doors for a living and I was petrified for like the first one, two, and then you do it for a full day and then you can do it as many days in, right? Like you can train these muscles, but I'm not sure how the universities can help students necessarily do that besides not sugarcoating the reality of the fact that like you need to put yourself out there, you need to probably create some content, or you need to follow up with people. One thing, and I don't want to throw any shade at my mum, I love her to bits, but like she will apply for like 6 or 7 jobs and go, I don't even hear back from them anymore. Like they don't even, and it's because like they're inundated with job applications. It's not
mm.
because people are like trying to be mean, but the world has changed to some degree. And yeah, I haven't got a good answer for you there, Magic, unfortunately.
And that's all right. I mean, the question is, do there are actually real people reading those resumes, those CVs, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that is a point. Yeah.
yeah, because in the end, it's just they're going through thousands a week, probably. So you might get a reply 3 months down the line. So perhaps the role of entrepreneurs like yours, if you could design hypothetically, an ideal partnership between a company like yours and then university, what would it be like, right? And how could you better serve both students and employers? That's the question.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really nice flow. Love that. So I actually do think about this a lot. And when obviously we did that workshop 2 days ago together, we had 2 students come up to me and ask like a similar thing. One wanted to start her own business in like an architecture and interior design. The other wanted to know how to get into be a broker, for example. So I did some student experience, did some experience as an intern working as a broker. And the mistake I made back then, which the natural headspace to go to is message people and say, hey, I'll work for you for free. So, for example, if we apply that to this university lens, and I hold my hands up, I don't fully understand how, that university placement grad connection partnerships work. But like as a foundational level, I'm going to assume University A here reaches out to company and say, hey, would you like to take some of our marketing students on as grad schemes or something, right? Instantly, me, if I was employing someone, I'm thinking like I don't even care if it's free at this point. Like, where am I going to put these people? And I think what's a theme here from this question and the last 3 questions is it's all to do with like headspace. I don't really have the bandwidth in my head. Not even do I have it. It's like I don't want to think. I almost want to be told. And I think that's one of the biggest things, which is so not spoken about if you do employ people or you run your own company. You actually miss being told what to do. There is a benefit of having a boss and then
Mm,
giving you a structure and a routine, because you've got to like self-motivate. You've then got to think what you want to do. And if you're an employer and you're coming to ask him for some university, sorry, and you're coming to me asking for something, what I would love, if we're going to say best in class practice, is for the university to leverage their existing partnerships with, like, say, the 100 companies that they already have relationships with, run a survey. Hey, what are you like working on this year, right? And theoretically, let's put this on a marketing lens. Say they come back and say 80% of the companies are wanting to start a podcast in 2026, right? I, as the university, would then go to my marketing department, maybe run it as an extracurricular activity, but for 2 hours a day over 2 weeks, right? So 28 hours, I would train the marketing students to know how to source guests, know how to use Riverside, know how to edit content, and know how to like kind of create it into a resource. And then as the university, I could then go back to these companies and be like, hey, we've just run some research. 80% of companies like yours say they're looking to get into podcasting. We have just trained our students on how to do podcasting, how to build, set up, and run a podcast. Would you be interested in taking them on? If someone came to me like that, you know, with some like foundational backing, I would like snap their hand off, because currently I would rather pay a premium to someone that knows what they're doing rather than take on a free intern just for my mental back. So anyway, that's another long answer.
No,
But
no, it's a good answer, because I can wonder, people you do employ, and things I've heard from other employers is that if the university can't provide that type of training, a practical training, then they looking into the students' own personal projects and what have they done themselves to be above the parapet of the rest of the cohort of graduates that come every year through the same channels, because, things have changed post-COVID, post-pandemic. You probably have noticed shifts in the way the flexibility of work environment has changed. I don't know how many people you employ on site, how many are remote, but, how does it affect the way you build teams now? Because, of course, things have gone remotely. And, of course, your company you build is built on the remote immersive experience. So, have you noticed shifts in young graduates' value, whether it's flexibility, creativity, or purpose?
for sure. And not even just like, I was in a sales, I went for like a business lunch, you can call it, I guess, a lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Someone was trying to sell me something, and she said she was at university through COVID. And I found it really fascinating, because she said that she finds the in-person business meetings really, really weird, because she's done all her communications through like just online through
Yeah.
webcam. And first of all, I thought that was like kind of bizarre. That doesn't really answer your question on like meaning, but like kind of like mindset. And they're definitely much more, they want to get the job. I don't think they want to be put in a stuffy office for a start. And then when it comes to meaning, I think for sure there's definitely a shift to people want to work on something more meaningful as opposed to optimize for security and a paycheck. And my younger brother, like a couple of weeks ago when I was with him, actually said like he saw a study that Gen Zs don't mind being public about being poor or broke, whereas like boomers or millennials are much more like defensive over, or like trying to keep up
Yes.
with the Joneses and things. And that's actually a really nice kind of mindset to have. For me, I think it bodes well for employers if, for example, you can give them the framework to be autonomous, right? And because ultimately the dream scenario for a business owner is to be like, hey, here's the North Star metric, right? Here is what you need to optimize. Now, here is what I can give you. Do you need anything else? No? Yes? Great. Well, go get it. Because then it comes, the common theme here is I don't want mental bandwidth going on these people. I don't want to micromanage. Maybe some people do. I've never really fully understand that, but I've always loved being like, hey, here's the goal. Now get us there. And it seems like a lot of the younger generation coming through now, or grads, kind of want to operate in the same way, which is really nice.
It's good. It in a way, what mustn't discount the, as you mentioned at the beginning, the in-person soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
May have read about the employers sort of trying to get training actually those soft skills. So you can't discount that, right? This is something that still is needed. It's part of your return on investment. If you invest in your future employees, but also same thing, if a student or university can invest in a study abroad or some sort of experiential, because you mentioned the experience as part of the thing that gives you practical skills that can be then implemented if you were to design a partnership, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from your starting point of view, as an employer, what is the ROI for a study abroad or experiential learning program for the graduate and for the company that hires them?
Yeah. Well, I think the benefit for both the employee, like the graduate and the employer, is almost the same, which is you're both going to go on like a rapid like learning journey, because you're almost bringing like two cultures or two completely different worldviews together, which means both the graduate is going to come away with new ideas and both the corporate is going to come away with new ideas. So, and I think also fundamentally, if you look at this at a human level, you've got like it's going to build resilience, right? From the graduate's point of view, you're going to be put in, and I've done this to myself many times. Like I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of different places. It's almost like that feeling of you get comfortable with being uncomfortable in your if in a the last time I fully noticed this, and it's not work related, but it's like when I first got off the plane in Thailand, like 2-3 years ago, I remember going, whoa, culture shift. And it's almost like you sit, you've got to like calm yourself, you relax, and then you make the best decision. And it's the same in a work environment as well. Like you don't fully know what's going on, but like the calmer you are, the more I feel like you can absorb. You're more like resilient to like new things happening, to change. And I think that also through the I don't know if I've used this wrong, I should probably like get a definite dictionary definition of what osmosis means or whatever. But like if you can transfer that to the company as well, having calmer grads or calmer employees altogether, that are used to change, and the world now is changing so quickly. The more like adaptable your people are within your organization, that the better that's going to serve you.
Wonderful. We're going to finish with a final question, which is something we will do for every our guest, which is a question to our next guest. Our next guest could be a student. So what type of question do you think will be suitable to ask them?
Okay, so I'm going to try and keep it generationally relevant, or like be down the kit. But like, what is your greatest ick when it comes to like what would like turn you off working for a company from an employee's perspective? If you ask an employer, what would turn you off hiring a student? Like, what red flags are there going to be? And from a university's perspective, what's like the one thing that you see on like that a grad might do that you're like, whoa, no, like the common mistake there. It's kind of like a three
Thank
in
you.
one there. But
No,
yeah,
no, it's perfect. Perfect. I'll have it transcribed and I'll ask our next student.
and shorten maybe.
Noted. So thank you very much, Sam. This was great. That's it for everyone. This is the episode of Study Abroad session. A huge thank you to Sam again from Mixed Reality Rooms for sharing his perspective of how immersive technology is reshaping the way we learn, but also, what stood out is how employers like Sam see international and experiential learning not just as a nice to have, but also as a differentiator, equipping graduates with adaptability, creativity, and a global mindset. So thank you, Sam. You can reach Sam on LinkedIn at Sam Hall. Thank you very much, Sam. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Magic. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.